Hey guys, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Megan, and today I'm going to just be sharing some books that we are going to be using in our homeschool during the month of September. Now, the books that are in this video are for sure goes. They are definitely things we're going to use, but it's not necessarily everything that we end up reading in the month of September. I am hoping that this video is helpful for you guys in selecting books that might work in your homeschool as well, especially because I have quite an age range of kids. So my oldest is 13, he is in 8th grade, and it goes all the way down to preschool, 4-year-old. So these books are for various different ages, and as I said, hopefully you find something helpful here. Now, I also want to let you know that if you love getting book ideas for your homeschool or morning basket ideas for your homeschool, then you're going to want to check out the playlist that is down in my description. I know I'm going to be checking it out, and not just because I'm in this collaboration, but because I love videos like this as well. I'm always on the lookout for good quality books to use in our home. And so hopefully that is helpful to you as well. And I want to thank Yasmine from Mommy on the Move. She is the host for this collaboration. Yasmine is a sweet friend of mine, and she is a mama of 4 kiddos. And so thank you, Yasmine, for hosting this collaboration. Our morning basket time, if you want to know more specifically about how we do morning basket in our homeschool, I will stick a link to a video of what we're using in our morning time. That's typically what I'm starting to call it now, more so, is morning time, because all these books are not going to be fitting in a basket, okay? But also, we have a set morning time routine with certain things that we're using, and those certain things sometimes require certain books and things like that. But basically, this is our book basket. So that's what we'll call this video, our book basket, and what we are planning to read for this upcoming month. Some of these things are going to be very historically focused because they go with our literature-based history biblio plan, so you're going to see some of that. Now, as far as read alouds, we are actually not quite done with our current family read aloud, which is Walk the World's Rim. We will be finishing that hopefully by the end of this week. We ended up getting a little bit behind because we did take a few days off from school because of the holidays, and so that will hopefully be done, like I said, at the end of the week. But as far as our next read aloud, we are going to be reading Huguenot Garden. Now, this book doesn't look like this anymore. I think it has people on the front of it now. I found this used. But this is suggested as a read aloud in our history. It is based in the 17th century. And it's about the French Huguenots who were Protestants, and they suffered a lot of persecution for being Protestant in France during that time. And so I think this is going to be a good one for adding that perspective and just kind of what the day in and day out of that would look like. So it's not too awful long, but this is one that we're going to be diving into as far as family read alouds go. Now, the next one I actually did not pull from my shelf. There's actually a few I didn't pull from my shelf, but I will just tell you what they are. The other read aloud we're going to be doing is actually a suggested read in our morning time from Brighter Day Press, and it is Paddington. And I realized I had read Paddington to my 2 older boys when we first started homeschooling, but I realized we have never been back through the stories of Paddington. And so we're going to go ahead and read that. I think that will be a fun one. I like to mix up like the historical reads and then the fun reads. So I think that will be good. We will do that book and then Paddington, and finishing up Walk the World's Rim as far as family read alouds go for the month of September. Okay, so another book that I did not pull, but that some of my kiddos are going to be reading through, more of like a reading group novel study kind of deal, and that is a book called Squanto, Friend of Pilgrims, because here in the next couple of weeks, even though it's not really near Thanksgiving right now, we actually are going to be studying Plymouth and all the things that go along with that. And so that is one of the chapter books that was a suggested read, but then it's also one that my daughter didn't read last year when she did the Sunlight Readers for 3rd grade last year. So I kind of saved that one because I knew it would fit into our history this year. And so that will be one that they are going to do a novel study on. As far as books for my oldest son, I'm kind of letting him read what he is interested in right now, because he is doing a more focused study on The Magician's Nephew, and I can't remember which book from Narnia he reads next for his IEW writing this year. So those are what he will be reading. Now let's move on to more of the historical read alouds. So we have this book called The New Americans, Colonial Times, 1620 to 1689. This book, it just is a great look inside of what happens during those years of history in the settling of America, beginning to colonize things. And so this is something that we have been learning about already, because we have been learning about Jamestown and just finished with like the exploration and conquistadors, finishing up with Jamestown and moving into pretty soon starting the Pilgrims and Plymouth and all that kind of stuff. So that is one of the books that we are pulling in for that is more picture book style. Another one we're going to be using is Squanto's Journey, the story of the first Thanksgiving. And obviously this one's kind of self-explanatory. This one has really beautiful pictures, and so that is one that we will read. The next one is from the series, the If You books. And so this is If You Lived in Colonial Times. I actually have several of these books. I have like the George Washington, the Abraham Lincoln, the medieval times, this one, the Civil War. I also have one that we're going to be using as we get more into slavery, and it's about living during the times of slavery. And so it gives really good insight as far as historical facts. But I do really like this one. This is one, and then the You Wouldn't Want to Be series. I love that. Some of those are so funny, and we always love the pictures in those as well. The next one is one of the Sea Hauling books, and it is Paddle to the Sea. And these books are just really beautiful. This is a good look at like history, but also intertwining the geography aspect of things to kind of get a better understanding. And so this is actually scheduled into our Biblio plan, so we will be using that as well. Okay, and so these next books I'm going to share with you guys are for my kindergartner / first grader and my preschooler. So we are using My Father's World Kindergarten this year. I have used that with all of my kids, and so I'm using it with both of them. And so if you're not familiar with it, it goes by letter themes. Like each week you focus on another letter, and it intertwines a character trait and things like that. So it is literature based, more of a Charlotte Mason feel to it. And so I'm just going to show you what I have in my stack of books to go with each thing, and hopefully it's helpful. So we actually are finishing up L for a Leaf. I really love this book series at our library. It is my Soundbox books, and this one obviously is L. And what's neat about these is if you have a child who is not a reader yet, it has little things that start with an L, so you can read along, and every time they come to one of these, they can say it, so it makes them feel like they're a part of reading the story, and it just reinforces the L sound and everything in it. So I always try to get those books. Unfortunately, they were out of the letter A at our library, so I'm going to try to reserve that one so that I can get it before we get to A. The next one is When Autumn falls, and obviously it is about the change in the weather coming into fall. And so this is one that we're going to be reading as well. And the next one is this little book called Maple. And this book is so sweet. It says, when Maple is tiny, her parents plant a simple maple tree in her honor. She and her tree grow up together, and even though a tree doesn't always make an ideal playmate, it doesn't mind when Maple is in the mood to be loud, which is often. Then Maple becomes a big sister and finds that babies have their own loud days too. Fortunately, Maple and her beloved tree know just what the baby needs. So this is such a sweet story. I still remember reading this with my oldest when he went through My Father's World Kindergarten, and so I made sure to grab that one when I was at the library as well. Now, the next letter, I can't remember which one comes next in the book, but we are going to be studying the letter N as well. And so I, of course, got the N sound box book. And again, it is the same way. It has things that they can read the pictures so they feel like they're reading along with you. And it's just a cute little book series. The next thing I got was A Nest is Noisy, and I think this book is so pretty. And it's all about just the different sounds that are made in the nest and different types of nests that belong to different animals. And so this is a great one to pull in some science aspects and nature notebooking and things like that. So we will be using that book. And the next book I got is called The Scarecrow's Hat. And this is just a sweet little story about how this chicken here really wants his hat. But can you figure out why she wants his hat? And so they are trying to figure out what they can trade so she can have his hat. And obviously the theme goes along with nest, so you can tell what the chicken uses the hat for in the end. But the pictures are really pretty, so I grabbed that one. The next one is Annie and Snowball and the Cozy Nest. Now, we love Henry and Mudge, and Annie is another character in this series. She kind of has her own series, and Henry and Mudge show up in it as well. But this is just a sweet little book that, again, goes along with Nest, and so we will be reading that as well. And then the next book is, of course, Are You My Mother? And so we will be reading this one. This one doesn't really need an explanation. I think we're all familiar with this one, but those are our N books. Now, the next letter I'm going to show you is the books to go along with a apple. And obviously we have Johnny Appleseed. I really like the Stephen Kellogg folktale books. I love the illustrations. There's always something to look at in the pictures. And so this is one that I always use. I actually don't know why I don't own this book, or maybe I do and I just didn't pull it off the shelf. But I did go ahead and check it out from the library. But that is one of the ones we're going to be using along with Apple Farmer Annie. And it is all about Annie, who is an apple farmer, and what she uses her apples for and all of that. And this will be at a great time because we actually just went apple picking and had a lot of fun. The next one, of course, is How to Make an Apple Pie and See the World. This is a great one to read to have that connection to geography. There are all kinds of activities you can find to go along with this book. And of course, it's always fun to make an apple pie in the end. So this is one that we will be reading. And then we come to the letter T. And again, I grabbed the sound box for the letter T book. And I also, so the theme for the letter T is turtle. And the saying for that one is, we don't quit, we persevere. So the character trait is all about perseverance and pushing through. And so obviously we're going to be reading the tortoise and the hare. But then also I grabbed this little book called Turtle Pond. I just thought it was really sweet, and so I grabbed that one. There is another book that I am going to grab from the library, and it is called Turtle Splash, I think. And I could not check it out today because the librarian actually had pulled it because she's using it in a program this week. So one of the things I thought that I might do is, and I will put a link to it down below, there's actually a website that has some really great nature notebooking printables on it, and they're completely free. Again, I will link it down below. And so if I click the turtle category, there are some really cute little printables that I can print out, like I said, for free, that are more informational, so we can turn it into like a little impromptu unit study on turtles. My thought process is that we would look at freshwater turtles, but then also sea turtles, and talk about what is the same as and what is different and things like that. And so there's actually another book that I also have on hold at the library that is about sea turtles, and so that is something that we are planning to do for her for the letter T. So like I said, I will link that website with those free like notebooking printables and stuff like that. So a few books that I didn't mention that I just haven't pulled off my shelf yet is to go along with the perseverance of T is for Turtle. We are going to be reading Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel. That is a favorite around here, especially with my 4-year-old. He loves anything with engines, especially construction vehicles, or as he says, scutching. And so we will be reading Mike Mulligan and just talk about their perseverance. Another one that we're going to be reading is Apples to Oregon. That's another one, a great one to pull in again for more of a geography focus. Which also brings me to the last one that I'm going to be using, and that is Mapping Penny's World. So this is a great book if you are looking at introducing mapping skills. And so that is one of the things that I wanted to make sure I introduced with my daughter this year, being in kindergarten, and really kind of getting a grasp of what is a map and making her own little map of our neighborhood. We'll probably start with making a map of our house first, and then we will make one of our neighborhood, and that will kind of give her, get her feet wet with geography a little more. And so that is what we have planned in our book basket for this month. These obviously are more academically focused books, but that isn't all that we read around here. But I hope you guys found something in this video that you liked, and I would love to know down in the comments below, what do you plan on reading this month? Maybe there is a really good read aloud that you're excited about reading in your family, or whatever it may be. Share it down in the comments. Make sure to head over and check out the playlist of other ladies who are sharing what they're reading in their homeschool this month as well. Thanks so much, guys, and have a blessed day.